If I had $100 to build out a home gym, here's what I would purchase. Today, I'm gonna break down the bare minimum that I have found works best for most people with a limited budget, specifically $100. We're gonna start at that lowest level of if you just have $100 to spend, what I would actually spend that money on, and then we're gonna work our way up the pyramid if you have a little bit more of a budget, and then if you have unlimited funds. Let's start at the bottom of the pyramid here, or like the bare minimum. You want a set of weights for your upper body and a set of weights for your lower body. That's it. Now, obviously, if you're following a program that utilizes progressive overload, you are ideally going to want access to more weight over time, but there are actually a lot of ways to get more out of the weights that you have with progressive overload tactics before you actually need to add more load. This is where I like to get really creative with the workouts I create for my Fit Club members to do at home, utilizing different stances, tempos, planes of motion. We can do a lot with just 2 sets of weights, and we'll give some examples of that in a bit. Now, the other thing I am going to throw into this bottom tier as an option is if you have like a little leftover money, $20, $30, maybe you also invest in a pull-up bar. This is going to be an amazing investment because otherwise it is going to be really difficult to overload any vertical pulling patterns. But if it's out of your budget, we can also lump that into option 2 as well. So let's move up a tier. And let's say you got a little bit more money to spend. Obviously, you could just invest in another set of dumbbells, but I'm actually going to recommend a bench. I have 2 benches at home. I have a Flybird bench and then the Reebok deck. Now, the Flybird is solid. It's light. It's a typical bench height. I will say it's not great for stepping on top of though, so I do actually prefer my Reebok deck for things like that. Now, it's also shorter, and so am I. I'm only 5'1", so this is actually going to be my go-to purchase, but again, it's definitely not fitting into that $100 budget. When we get into the shopping portion, I'm going to show you a few ideas of how you could get a bench for a lot cheaper than what I've spent on them. All right, and we're moving into tier 3, the top of the pyramid, because if you really want to splurge and you really want to get the most out of your home gym, I am going to recommend a set of adjustable dumbbells. Do not ask me about brands I recommend because I don't know. And before you're like, Justina, aren't those adjustable dumbbells in the corner? We have a little quick story time. Way back in the year of 2020, we decided to invest in some adjustable dumbbells. I went on Amazon and I looked up Bowflex adjustable dumbbells because those were the ones I had heard the best things about. Now, we did decide we just wanted to go like full send, and we went in for the ones that go up to 90 pounds, which cost us $700. So then I decided to make a YouTube video about it. I made said YouTube video and people in the comments started letting me know those are not Bowflex, they're knockoffs. Now, luckily, a kind soul told me that if I reported this to Amazon, they would more than likely not only give me a full refund because that was a fraudulent seller, but also let me keep the dumbbells. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. These have held up. They're great quality. I truly don't know what brand they are because we bought them thinking they were Bowflex. But also, I think Bowflex just had like a recall where the plates slip out of the actual dumbbells. So maybe don't buy those. If anybody does have some adjustable dumbbells that they really enjoy, please leave it in the comments below so we can help people navigate their options better. Let's start with some options at the bottom of the pyramid. So on Rogue's website, which is one of like the top, I would say, equipment providers out there, they do have a set of 10-pound dumbbells for $42. That is for the pair. You got to be really careful when you're buying dumbbells. Make sure you're either, just know like, are you buying a single one or a pair of them? I'm going to say this once, but it applies for the rest of the video. If you have a deal that you found that's cheaper than the one that I did, leave it in the comments. Let's make like a big running tab going. All right, so then for lower body, I actually ended up just deciding on one 16 kilo or 35-pound kettlebell. I did find one from Home Ground Lifting, made in Kentucky, USA. That accent was so offensive. I'm so sorry to anyone in Kentucky. To be honest, I went with this for 2 reasons. Number one, I think it's very diverse. I think you're going to be able to get a lot of bang for your buck with a 35-pound kettlebell because not only can we perform strength exercises with it, if you are somebody who's interested in a little bit more power work, this is going to give you a little bit more options in terms of swings and cleans and snatches than just a dumbbell would. And to be honest, it just fit in the price better than getting another set of dumbbells. Now, I did pick out another option. Let's say you're somebody who isn't super interested in like power work or skills. I found this adjustable kettlebell on sale for $60, down from $80 from Dick's Sporting Goods. And this is going to give you 20 to 50 pounds. That's a lot more bang for your buck right there. So the reason I'm going to say that this adjustable isn't great for skill work is because it simply is not. Like, it's not the best shape. I don't typically recommend doing a lot of ballistic work with plates that could fly out at any second. But if we're just thinking about strength work, I would definitely say that that kettlebell is going to be a good investment with the $100 limit that we have access access to right now. So let's say we get the kettlebell and the set of 10s. That is going to bring our total up to $102, which is pretty darn good. And again, with some solid creative programming, you can really milk those for a long time. Now, before we continue to move up the pyramid, I want to give you a handful of other options of places where you can find cheaper equipment. Facebook Marketplace. It is definitely going to come in clutch if you're on a budget. eBay is actually a solid option. And then depending on what time of the year it is, you're going to find some great sales. So Labor Day, we just missed that one, but that's typically where people have very large sales. Black Friday is going to be a huge one. So really just taking advantage of those sales moments too, if you'd rather go directly from the source rather than getting something secondhand. So with those options in mind, let's move up to level 2 of the pyramid. All right, so we're literally just going to ignore budgets at this point because I didn't really give budgets for the next 2 levels. So I'm just going to show you shit that I like. This is the Reebok deck. I don't know why this is in, is that euros? I don't know, that's not American currency, but let's just say that's $230. You can see mine sitting back in the corner. Did talk all about this bench when I made that video about Fiverr, where I hired somebody to redecorate my room. I actually found this color bench on like Walmart's website. You like can't buy it through Reebok anymore. I don't know, that's a side tangent, but I love the Reebok deck because I'm really short. It's like lightweight enough, but sturdy enough. So this is actually my go-to, but simply based on equipment we have, if you want something that's about half the price, we also have a bench from Flybird. I was sponsored by them once, but it was after we already bought the bench, just for full transparency in case you remember that sponsorship from like 2 years ago. I like the bench. I already talked about it, I believe, in this video. It's just a little lightweight to step on top of and it's cushier. So that's why I do prefer the Reebok deck, but this is a great bench if you're a little bit on the taller side and you really just want it for like benching and seated overhead pressing. So then moving up to the top tier of the pyramid, if you're like, I'm going all out, I'm going to build out a gym. We already talked about adjustable dumbbells and you already heard my story. So look in the comments for some recommendations there. Pull-up bar is honestly just a great thing to have if you want to work on your pull-ups or something from a vertical pull position. I found this one on Walmart for like 20 bucks. All right, so now let's return to my option 1, people. What this video is all about, building out a home gym for $100. Let's say you've got your upper body dumbbells and you've got that adjustable kettlebell. I want to walk you through 3 exercises right now that I find are very limited with limited amounts of weight, and I'm going to show you how to actually make them a little bit more effective and really milk the weights that you have before you need to invest in more. We're going to start with deadlifts, and you can move a lot of weight with deadlifts. So let's say that you again purchase that adjustable kettlebell, which does max out at 50 pounds. So instead, you can actually find a kickstand or a B stance position, and that's going to move the load to 1 leg at a time, which is a solid progression. You could also go for a full-on single leg deadlift to challenge that leg even more. And remember that tempo is going to be your best friend with limited weights. Really milking some slow eccentrics or the slow descent is going to increase that time under tension and overall intensity of the exercise. Now, moving into a chest press, yeah, we're not going to be chest pressing with a set of 10s more than likely. And if you are, you're going to progress out of that very quickly. So you have a few options here. Obviously, you can use that kettlebell instead, and you can go for a single side press. On the floor is a solid option since we didn't buy a bench at this level, but you could also just work on some push-ups instead. It's going to be the same horizontal push pattern, and you can challenge these in a lot of ways. Decline, tempo changes, honestly, just adding a shit ton of reps. And push-ups are never going to go out of style, so I think this is a pretty easy swap. And then finally, we're going to look at squats. You know, most people can squat less than they deadlift since your joints are going through a much larger range of motion, but we're still going to be limited eventually with the weights that we purchased. I'm assuming we've probably been goblet squatting with the kettlebell. To progress that, you can offset rack it. So now it's a little more challenging for your core stability here. We could also go for like a single leg squat variation, so some split squats or Bulgarians. We could even move into more of the calisthenics world, maybe build towards some pistol or shrimp squats. Again, nothing I'm talking about here is perfect or optimal if your main goal is to pack on a ton of muscle. But if you're just looking to get creative with some limited weights at home, these are all solid progressions. Now, if you have any tips that you would like to add down in the comments, again, please contribute so we can get a little running list of things that are more affordable that we can include in our at-home workout space. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and I will see you all in the next one.